So we're recording now and I'll go live in a while. Okay, going live now. Okay, and let's go. Okay, good morning, Philippines. Good morning, Indonesia. Good morning, Southeast Asia, and to wherever else you're watching from right now. This is your Feministang Filipino, Shaira Cruz. Welcome back to another episode of Everyday Feminism. Joining me today as kachikahan is a fellow feminist from Indonesia. Let us all welcome Ika Agustina.
Hello, everyone. Hello, good morning. Selamat pagi to our friends from Indonesia and also to you all from other countries and also to our guests. Hopefully, we are all in a good condition. This is Ika Agustina from Kalyana Mitra. And Syahira, maybe all of the participants now is still enjoying the holiday for celebrating Eid Mubarak. So we would also like to say Happy Eid Mubarak to you all who are celebrating. May we all be blessed with peace and prosperity. So Shahira, I will speak everyday feminism. So you can shout feminism, okay? Okay. So today is our everyday
Feminism!
okay. So a way of life. So that's our tagline. Everyday feminism, a way of life. So what is everyday feminism? I will explain a bit about that. Everyday feminism is a series discussion organized by Kalyana Mitra Indonesia, Women's Legal and Human Rights Bureau of Philippines, or WLB, and also Voice to amplify the stories and experience of women and girls, also to build across a country feminist solidarity in Southeast Asia regarding how they live as feminists in their daily lives. And also, through this program, we want to introduce the new way of life by applying feminist values in every behavior or action in our personal uh, and daily life. So these programs consist of 5 episodes, and today is Everyday Feminism episode 2, and we will talk about relationship. So I think, Shahira, this topic is very important to discuss because there are still many misconceptions about
Okay. So last time at our launch, the way we started things off was to introduce ourselves by sharing some fun facts. But because this is a whole new episode and one that's about relationships, Ika, and it's your first time joining us, before we get to know our set of guests today, can you introduce yourself and tell me, are you in a relationship? Ika?
Yes. Yeah. So I am in a relationship, and so I am married with one daughter, and I am also working as a full-time staff in Kalyana Mitra. So I think as a married couple, I share responsibility with my husband in raising our children, and working at the same time is quite complicated, yeah, especially in this pandemic situation when you bring your work to your home. So, but I try to the fullest to enjoy it because that's what I choose. So, uh, I also have beside my husband, I also have my friend to support me. For instance, maybe I try to work together with my husband to take care of our daughter because we don't have a nanny. So we need to taking care our daughter by ourselves. So when he in on a day off, or maybe when he on working from home, and I have a working to do or Zoom meeting like this, usually my husband will play with my daughter, and sometimes he will serve me coffee and snack. And because he's working also, we just have time to meet at night and weekend. So sometimes we try to maintain our relationship by sharing other stories about anything. So that's a bit of my story, Shahira. How about you?
I don't have no. I have a story of my own. But as I said in our previous episode, I'm single and I just enjoy hanging out with my close circle of friends who share similar beliefs as I do. So we'll get to that later. But whether you're single like me or and just enjoying company of your friends or in a romantic relationship like Ika, this episode is just for you because today we're talking to women, feminists, about what's it like to have feminist relationships and feminist friendships, if those even exist. So, Ika?
Yeah, yeah. I think today is also a good opportunity to debunk that misconception and truly show how feminism is practiced in social circles. So I'm so excited. So let's get to know our guest today. Today we have guests from Cambodia, Indonesia, Malaysia, and Philippines. But before we start, for our fellow from Indonesia, we provide the language interpretation. So you can click the interpretation button and choose English to Japanese or Indonesia. So that's the interpretation button for the translation.
Ah, thank you, Ika. So, if you need translations, especially Indonesia was the one who informed us to be needing translators. It's available here. So, we're open for participants to join us, send in questions to Facebook where we're live streaming, or join us here on Zoom where you can live join the conversation. So, let's get to know our guest today. What we want to hear from our four guests today is of course pretty basic at first. Please introduce yourself, including your age, where you work, or what you enjoy doing in your free time. So let's start. Let's begin with our guest all the way from Indonesia, Kuntia Chan.
From Cambodia, Shaira.
Sorry, from Cambodia. So sorry. From Cambodia, Kuntia Chan.
Yeah, you also familiar with Cambodia, I mean Indonesia and the Philippines. So yeah, greeting from Cambodia. My name is Chan Kuntia. I'm working with Jazz Associate. I am 39, but most of the time people don't think that I'm 39. I like younger than that. And I also have two sons. I'm a single mother, and I working to advance the women rights both in Cambodia and regionally for 16 years, and be feminist protocol facilitator for 5 years in the experience that working with Just Associate. And I mean, during the free time, I enjoy doing my gardening, and also listen to the music, and sometimes I also cooking for my kids. So yeah, that's about me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kuntia. Welcome. And our second guest hail from Malaysia, Sumita Krishna. Sumita Krishna, sorry. So Sumita, please introduce yourself.
Gardening, and also listen to the music, and sometimes I also cooking for my kids.
Hear you. Yeah, Sumita, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So my name is Sumita and I live in Malaysia. I'm a lawyer by practice. I'm 47 years old and I'm not married, but I am in a relationship. I have a partner. And so that relationship is about 3 years old. We've been together since 2008. I also run a organization called Our Journey. It's an organization that provides legal representation for migrants and refugees. And so I deal with a lot of cases, a lot of violations on labor violations, immigration, and also criminal cases. I also do humanitarian aid since the pandemic. I've been providing food aid, hygiene packs, also vaccination for children of migrants, and also milk, diapers for kids. There's a lot of migrants here who have families. So we provide provisions for them because work is becoming extremely difficult for migrants, especially undocumented migrants in Malaysia. So we are providing all those humanitarian aid. For soon to come, we hope to still continue. Although a lot of people have gone back to work, I think it's essential that we still continue that aid for them until they are comfortable and they are working to provide for themselves. In my free time, I don't really have much free time. Prior to the COVID, I used to travel a lot. So there was most of my work is about traveling, attending conferences, doing a lot of networking, advocacy with different governments in different countries. So I spent most of my time traveling, and I do enjoy traveling a lot. Other times, I prefer watching movies. I do like enjoy watching Tamil movies and Hindi movies. So I watch those. Myself and my partner also like to try out new joints for food. So we go and we try out something new and we write some reviews on it on my Facebook. So those are things that I do during my free time. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Samita. I'll add you on Facebook, so I can see the food reviews there. So I'll know what to eat when I get to travel after this pandemic. So next, our guest all the way from Indonesia. This time I got it right. Rania Nababan.
Yes, thank you, Saira and Ka. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Selamat pagi. I'm Freniana Baban, but you just can call me Frey. I'm currently single and trying to build a relationship with myself. I had experiences in working for sexual and reproductive health organizations. Previously, I worked there for 10 years. Called Indonesian Planned Parenthood Association, member of Planned Parenthood Federation. But right now, I mostly working for communication for social change and advocacy. I'm teaching in the university and with the course like Sociology of Communication, International Communication and Global Issues in University in Jakarta. And other than being a lecturer, I also form an organization called Dialoga, a community group that focuses on empowering communities and encouraging public active participation in social change. So it consists with academic like lecturer, but also activists from Indonesia. That's all for me.
Thank you, Frenia. So last but not the least, let's have our guest from the Philippines. We have Twyla Rubin rounding out our set today. Twyla, please introduce yourself.
Morning. I'm Twyla. I'm 40 years old. I'm from the Philippines and I work with the Commission on Human Rights. It's our national human rights institution. I head the Center for Gender Equality and Women's Human Rights of the Commission. And I'm also one of the board members of Women's Legal and Human Rights Bureau. Currently, I'm in a relationship 7 years now with a woman. She identifies as pansexual. I identify as bisexual. And she's 10 years younger than I am. So it's a work in process. What I enjoy doing, we're both outdoor persons. We are both members of the UP Mountaineers. So we love outdoors, trekking, hiking. We also love cycling. We bike tour in the Philippines and outside of the country. But because it's locked down, we haven't been able to do that. And At some point, I also loved distance running, but right now we also have 5 cats. So that's it for me. Looking forward to our discussion today.
Yeah. Ika, you're mute. You're on mute. Ika, you're on mute. You're on mute. Yeah.
Hello? Oh, okay. Okay. Sorry for delay because my connection on off. So, okay. Thank you, Twyla, for sharing about yourself. So, Shahira, I think our guest just last time, we can see how diverse our set of guests is. So, including you and I. So, I think the one commonality we all have is being in this kind of advocacy or development works.
Yeah. So since we've gotten to know each other, laid the basis for our discussion today, and you've shared, we have two women in, we have two single women here and two who are in relationships. So let's get to the real meat part of the discussion. So I'm really excited. For our, we've heard a lot of stories that, for our first question, we've heard a lot of stories that feminists are commonly angry and are always hateful. I don't know where it comes from, but it's a popular belief. So perhaps our guests can help us clear that out. Is it true that feminists hate men, or is the belief false and unfounded? So for our first round of responses, can we have Sumita answer first?
I think that's not true at all, to say that feminists hate men, because even feminists have, we grow up with fathers, we have brothers, cousins who are men and all that. So I think it's very, very, very untrue when you say feminists hate men. I think that notion comes because you are standing up for another woman. And they feel that because you're standing up for another woman, you are against men, but that's not true. You're just standing up for another woman because you feel that that woman needs the voice to speak, to express herself, and if she's not able to do that, you are just supplementing that voice. So this is what I get a lot from, also from others, that they feel that feminist women are against men. That's entirely not true. So yeah, that's my view. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Sumita, for your views. And how about Frenia, Ray? How about your opinion about is it true that the feminists had men, or is the belief false and unfounded?
I think this is one of unfounded belief and stereotype about feminism. So feminism itself is they challenge the social system. The social system from the sociological perspective, as we live in a society, whether we like it or not, there are rules, social structure, socialization from agents such as family, religious interpretation. So the belief itself is being created, but who creates that? Some critical perspective believe that the rules and the share knowledge and the share belief is created by a person who has the power to do that, and that system is benefiting only for those who are in power, and the other hand is causing social inequality. So this is social structure with standard and rules on how us as a member of society should act and behave. And the feminist movement exists to challenge this unfair social system. So the social, because the social system is not only discriminate a woman but also harmful to men itself. That's what I believe on. So it's not true that feminists always angry and hate men.
Thank you, Frey. So really good answer so far. We have Sumita saying that giving voice to another woman does not make a statement, and Frenya or Frey adds on that we're challenging social systems, and that this social system is also harmful to men as well. So let's hear next from Twyla.
So for me, I'd say that there are many strands wave theories of feminism, and it developed throughout time. But to keep it simple, all agree that there's inequality, and this is compounded by other systems of inequality, and there is a need to do something about it, and that's why we have the feminist movement. Secondly, despite differences, these strands respond mostly to two questions: what's the source of the women's oppression and how to address it? And at some point of feminist history, some feminists did propose that the possible solution could be a lesbian relationship or other methods, or adapting other methods to free women from reproduction. So this is one of the things that could be said, that one of the reason why this misconception developed. But this is just one part of the feminist history, and it has been ever since superseded, and there are other more theories that followed. And now it is a more common understanding that as a feminist, I'd say that we fight for equality, we fight systems of oppression, interlocking forms of oppression, not only in the basis of sex, but gender, but also class and race, etc. And in all these strands of feminism, these feminisms, it is not men that feminists go against or hate, it is the system that privileges men and the inequalities resulting from it. So feminists do not really wish for men to rule the world or for women to rule the world, but rather for equality, and one that recognizes this long history of oppression, marginalization. So I really find, and I agree with Sumita when she said that it could also be rooted to the misconception is also rooted with how we fight for women's voices as well and women's equality.
Thank you, Twy. Last, can we have Kuntia?
Yeah, thank you. There's a lot of answer already. I mean, there's a lot of things that I difficult to find the way, but it's not true at all. I am the feminist, and I love men. I'm straight. So yeah, so not true that the feminists hate men. And I just would like to, I don't want to repeat what have been said, but I think the confusion sometimes because of we are living in the society where it's telling us what to do, what to be, how to perform. So I think that is why when the feminists, when the activists do something that different from the way the society tell us how to do, how to be, how to perform, is always the problem. Because when, like Taylor talking about the oppression system, when we try to crack those systems, it's always, you know, backlash and violent. So I think that's it. So I just would like to add from what had been said earlier. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Kuntia, and thank you, Twyla. So, um, just like Kuntia said, no, society is the one that's telling us how to perform, and as feminists, we're not always. Some of us are do conform to some boxes, but most of the time we're diverse. That's why we have this panel today, or we have this set of guests today, showing us different yet similar perspectives on how to attack one question or how to tackle one question, and living such different lives from each other, yet united by the common factor that we're all feminists. So still different from each other, but sharing some commonalities between us. So thank you for gamely answering that first question. Um, Before Ika, you want to say something?
Hello.
Yeah. Okay. So because before we proceed to our next question, we're open to comments and questions as well from our audience. So whether you're here with us on Zoom or on Facebook, watching on Facebook, we're taking in questions, comments. So please join our discussion. If you have any insights on our conversation so far, please join us. So our participants here too on Zoom, You can send in questions and we'll read them. We can ask our guests to respond to them. So yeah, with that, we can proceed to our segment 2 or second segment, feminism and romantic relationships. So, Ika, are you ready? Ika, do you hear us? Okay, so while we're waiting for Ika, maybe she's having some internet connections. Um, our second question or our first question for this segment is it possible to practice feminism while in a romantic relationship? So, Ika might want to share her own experience here because I don't have any experience to share, so that's why I'm asking Ika to share. But she seems to be having some difficulties with connection. I don't want to share what she has shared with me last night. That's why I'm waiting for her. So maybe we'll ask Ika to share about her own experience later. So we can again proceed to the guests. And the question is it possible to practice feminism while in a romantic relationship? So while answering that, you can also give examples from your own experience. So whether current or past relationship, please feel free. So this time let's have Kuntia to answer us.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Yeah, for sure. Feminists also, practice the romantic relationship, and it will, we find a way how to define our own romantic, because we might be have different definition of the happiness. It depend on who we are, depend on how condition of those people. So first, in the feminist romantic relationship, we try to find the way to understand each other, what is the definition of the romantic and definition of the happiness for us. And we treat everyone equally. That is romantic for us. Sometimes we cooking together, sometimes we, we decide the thing together, we discuss, we confess the love, even like I will, love someone, and then I will tell them about my feeling, express those without like waiting the man to do the romantic, to waiting the man to invite me to the night place that I want to do. So we discuss and we talk and we treat everyone equally. We get out of the gender role, like, men should do this, women should do that. So treat everyone equally. And we also like building the trust, because I think in whatever relationship, friend, family, with the kid, we need to build the trust. So like everyone have a safe space to talk to each other and to confess the feeling when they feeling down, because we are not happy all the time. So I think building the trust is, and be honest to each other is important, because that what is mean about the relationship. So that's just romantic, when and some of the word that like, so be normal but be honest from your partner, and when we're talking to our partner, so it's like easy and make it like the space is comfort, like we can be who we are when we with our partner. We can express whatever our feeling, when we also, when we angry, when we not comfortable, when we not happy. So we have those space to share, and we respect each other in the way that we free from all form of the violence. It's not mean we can do the violence to our partner, or the partner do the violence to us. So we need to free from all of the form of the violence, from the speak to from the physical, mental, and economical, and also sexual life. And sexual life is also, for me, it's very romantic, because we usually, after woman, is always be like put in the line to not express our sexual desire. So when we practice the feminist in our romantic relationship, sexual life is amazing. You can tell your partner what is your desire, you know, what do you like, and you also take the lead. You can tell when you feel, but remember that we need to have the consent. Even we are partner, even we are husband and wife. So those important to, you know, to have the consent with the sexual life. But that's for me, the one of the romantic relationship is the sexual life is great. And communicate, like I mentioned before. Mostly, importantly in the relationship is you need to communicate. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Kuntia. So, as for what Kuntia said, that's what I'm looking for in a relationship. So I think that's why I'm still single today. But to follow up on what Kuntia has shared so far, since I think sexual activities, especially in Southeast Asian context, is still very taboo among women, especially or in popular belief. So I think it's important to talk about it or normalize talking about it, especially when you're entering a relationship, whether romantic or not. So Kuntia, what will be your advice for women who are timid or shy to talk about their sexuality?
Yeah, I mean, we do some of the workshop sometime on the sexual and reproductive health because yeah, like you said, it's very taboo for women to talking about that. So we need to start for women to understand your body because some women even not look at to her body, look at to her vagina. Even they doesn't know how the shape is. Because some, you know, sometimes we not really train it, like get educated from the school, and we not really freely to talk about that because it's kind of like shame. So but we need to start to understand that is the important to understand about our body, to understand about our reproductive health, because it a lot of affect to our life and health and stress and desire that we are have. So I mean, we need to start dialogue step by step. Especially we did a lot with the young women to really you know, start understand their body, understand their sexual desire, and some young women I working with, like they like lost the sexual desire. Why? Because of what? So those important, like how we need to understand our body, how we need to understand the root cause that make us like that, because it must be something, it must be the reason that have you know, to cause that. So we need the space, a safe space that we can discuss, not in the webinar, not in the workshop, in the social circle that we can talk, we can share, we can, you know, so those space is important, you know, to share. Thank you.
Thank you, Kuntia. So I love that, the importance of erasing shame from us, especially women, young girls, and having safe spaces, not not just webinars or this discussion, but I think it's good that we have this space, this very public space where we can share with women. If you're watching us on Facebook or wherever, and you can hear our conversations, that there's no need to be ashamed of your body and discovering yourself. So this is a safe space, and I hope that more women find safe spaces, whether privately or with their webinars like this. They can listen in or join. And for those who are listening right now or joining us right now on Zoom here, you can share your insights if you have any, or comments if you have a question. So we have someone from the chat. She's from the Philippines, so I'll read it. I'll translate it as best as I can. For Nelly, She thinks romantic relationship is also healthy and beneficial for expressing our rights as women or feminists in a way that we could express and send messages that we need to be treated equally. So, yes, that's right, Nelly. So, thank you for sharing that. As Kuntia has said, the ideal feminist relationship for her is one that has equal discussion or equal sharing of voices between two partners, whether you're just discussing sharing or deciding on what to do or what to eat or coming to sexual activities or sexual consent. So very very good uh discussion there. So thank you, Kuntia, and thank you, Nelly. Well, let's check again on Ika if how she's doing. Yeah,
Yes,
okay.
yes, Sahira.
Yeah. So Ika, you were asking earlier um to share your experience again on if feminism is possible or practicing feminism is possible in a romantic relationship.
Oh yeah, for me, yeah, for my experience, I think it is very possible, even though I encountered many difficulties because I think it is like a process that must be carried out and maintained continuously for what I experienced. So, for instance, as I already shared before about sharing responsibility for taking care of my daughter. So uh, I like watching movies. So sometimes during weekend or holiday, I want to watch a movie by myself without any distraction. So I will just go to the mall by just by myself and watch the movies, and my husband will babysit my daughter at home. So I think uh, I think that's my experience. But sometimes I also face many difficulties too. So I think it's a process that we need to maintain continuously. Okay, so that's my story, Shahira. Okay, I also gain a learning just what Kuntia shared before. So I will also ask Sumita to answer the question about how it is possible to also practice feminism while in a romantic relationship. Sumita, please give example from your own experience.
Thank you. Yes, it is definite. You're just making sure that you have equal rights and equal standing in a relationship, and that is extremely important for me. So I'm a strong independent person. I have a strong personality, so I also tend to find someone who is equally strong in personality and in his beliefs as well. So it is not about, it's not about compromising, but it's about understanding the other person. And also, like what Kuntia says, it takes a lot of initial work on understanding how the person perceives feminism as well. And one of the good ways to do that is to see how a man treats his mother or treats his sister or any of the family members in their own home. That will give you an indication of how the person will treat you, because of course in the beginning of the relationship, the person does not show their true self, even be it a man or a woman. But as time and when the relationship stabilizes, then you will get to know the person better. So for me is in that sense, I think I've been lucky in able to find someone who's respectful to women in the relation in his home, and also respectful to my needs as well. um, of course, it's not only about the man, it's also about managing others in the family as well. You will have people in the family who will have how do you say, a perception that women's shouldn't be too strong, or women's places in the kitchen, or that need to be submissive to men. So you, it's not only about your own partner, because in Asian culture, when you're in a relationship, it's not just that one person that you have to deal with. You have to deal with a lot of other people. So it is important also that person stands up for you and stands up for your belief in feminism as well. In sort of like standing up for you in terms of dealing with family members that don't necessarily think that we should be, feminism is the right thing. So it comes in two things: not only standing up for you, but also standing up for you against people who are not in respectful of yourself. So these are things I think you need to look in a relationship, and feminism is definitely possible to be practiced in a relationship. I think there will be a problem when, if you have a strong belief in feminism and you think that women have equal rights and you're fighting for that equal rights. I think it'll be hypocritical if you are in a relationship that doesn't give you that space. Then how do you fight for another woman's right if you yourself don't have that right? So I think so that is what I see. A lot of women are trapped in. An outer part of them shows that they're so strong and all that, but when you actually look at their own relationship, it's extremely abusive. There's a lot of violence in it, and they're so trapped. But then, so how do you help those women to realize that they deserve better? So these are things I think you need to take note when you are in a relationship. Thank you.
Thank you, Sumita. I'm taking notes so I can have a guide for when I am finally ready. So, Sumita, our follow-up question is, because I read that you're also a lawyer and you mentioned earlier that you have advocacy work focusing on aiding women. So, as a feminist and as a lawyer yourself, how do you negotiate with your own partner? And if possible, can you give us a particular example?
I think it's a lot about talking, like what Kuntia mentioned and also Tyler mentioned. It's a lot about communication. We sometimes do, like any other relationship, there's always some argument. You'll get into a disagreement and all that, but eventually it's coming down to understanding the other person's viewpoint and it's not compromising, but trying to find the middle ground. And it's also important that you do not impose your views on the other person, or the other person doesn't impose your views. I'm totally against death penalty. I don't agree to death penalty, but I'm not exactly sure whether my partner is. But example, if he is for the death penalty, then we just have to understand each other's viewpoint. I can't impose it on him and say that no, you have to, because I'm an activist and I'm against the death penalty, so you have to follow me. It cannot be that way. So it's that kind of instances where we have to make that kind of understanding of each other's views. And I think extremely important is true communication. Arguments will be there, no matter how, Shara, when you'll definitely get into a lot of arguments. Don't think it's going to be a bed of roses. At one point of time, you're going to have to assert your views, but then respecting other people's views. I think respecting other people's views is extremely important. It may not be the view that is in line with yours, but then it must be, how do you say, you can respect that. But there are certain principles that I hold dear to, and which I would try to not compromise on. Example, I work a lot for migrants and refugees. So my partner does not, when he first started off in the relationship, he didn't know nothing about migrants and refugees. So and I think if I did not take the time and did not take the effort to share with him the work that I do and why I think migrants and refugees deserve the same respect as anyone else, he would also maybe having the xenophobic view. So for me, it's extremely important that the person that I'm with does not have a xenophobic tendency towards migrants and refugees, because I work in that area. I'm advocating for migrants and refugees, and I'm totally against xenophobic behavior. So these are certain principles that I do not compromise on, because again, it's going to be I'll be a hypocrite if I am with someone who's xenophobic, and I'm working on this issue. So these are maybe these are things that I won't compromise. So you will find things that you can compromise and things that you can't. But so it's just finding the middle ground. Yeah.
Shahira, I think Sumita addressed about the communication. So here is another question about the communication. So there is a question from Tito Herawati. So she asked about how to communicate properly so that people can immediately understand misperception in understanding feminism. So maybe Sumita will also answer this question.
I think, Titio, you have to understand, you yourself need to understand what feminism is. There's so many different types of theories they have. So some will say that feminism is about only standing up for women's right. Some feminism theory is about equality, and some, like what you mentioned, some feminism is about hating men. So which is it that you are subscribing yourself to? I'm an equalist. I think that women and men should have equal rights and equal standing. So and I will stand up for another woman's right to so which is the type of communication which is the type of feminism that you are subscribing to? And it comes down to your upbringing, how you've been brought up in the family, of whether you are the type that grew up in an environment where men had more rights, or in your own home, things like that. So you need to understand what is the feminism first before you go out and try to advocate that kind of feminism. You will have people who will be against your belief, and this is why it's important that you yourself understand, and you yourself have reasons to understand why that kind of feminism is what you want to believe. Only then you will be able to communicate that to another person. If you are just wishy-washy and you are not sure, then it's going to be really difficult for you to pass on that message to another person. So for me, when a lot of people come and say that women, or you being an activist, you only want to talk about women's rights, I said no. I said a lot of the migrants that I help are also men. If I was really someone who thought that only men needed, or only women needed help, I won't have men at all in my books, and wouldn't have be helping them as well. For me, everybody is equal. So if a man comes and says that he has a labor issue or an immigration issue or whatever, I will still help that person. And if a woman comes and asks me that, I will do that as well. So you need to be if you're an equalist, then you have to practice that before you try to tell the other person. So I think this is how you need to communicate your stand on feminism, you yourself practicing it.
Thank you, Sumita, and thank you for T2. Did I read that right? So we have more questions on our chat, and we'll be checking Facebook in shortly. But before we get to more questions, let's hear it from our third guest. So why? Again, the question is it possible to practice feminism in a romantic relationship?
So as I mentioned earlier, that I'm in a relationship with a woman, and she identifies as pansexual. So it doesn't matter for her what's the sexual orientation or gender identity of the person. She's attracted to that person. I identify as a bisexual. So I could be attracted to a man, or I could be attracted to another woman. And it's when we say is feminism possible in a romantic relationship, I believe it is. And I think I echo what Smita said, that it's important that you also practice feminism every day in your relationship, or you choose to practice it, and try to practice the values of feminism in your relationship. I'm lucky that my partner is also a feminist, and it's important to always have continued conversation, especially for us, since we are members of the LGBTQI community. It's more difficult because we also have to deal with our parents, to deal with society, to deal with the stereotypes of how or what kind of relationships are accepted. And for us, we have to deal not only with our own relationship, but also with the stigma and discrimination from outside. Discrimination from our workplace, from our family members. It's important to have that you are able to talk while you're at it, you are able to be together while you're at it, you are able to communicate, and you're also able to unpack your own gender norms and stereotypes that you've grown up with when you were young. So it's not easy. I grew up in a very patriarchal, macho family, and my partner would sometimes say, "You're too macho," or what you're saying. And even as a feminist, I'm a feminist, but sometimes she would call me out for saying, your actions are revealing that you still have those values taught to you when you were a kid. And I would accept, and it's important even as for us to listen, and when we are called out by our little actions that really reveal that they were still a work in progress. We're not like a feminist now, feminist already. So it's a continuing practice of learning and unpacking. And so it's important for me, it's important to recognize, because we also have issue of age, to unpack as well what is acceptable for society. And as a feminist relationship, you are able to challenge that society teaches you cannot be in a relationship with a younger woman. So we have to internally challenge that. We have to talk about it. We have to open our communication. We have to listen to each side. She also has to listen to me when I say that sometimes I'm affected by concerns about that, because it's embedded in our culture, but we have to go through that with discussion. And another thing also probably for a feminist relationship would be to be conscious of privilege and power relationships within the relationship. Who earns more, who has a higher position, older, and are you exercising that kind of power because you have that? And then as a feminist, you also have to examine yourself what you're doing about it, because as a feminist, you're supposed to question oppressive, abusive relationship. And if you're doing it every day, or if you are unconsciously doing it in your relationship, then you have to talk about it. And my partner does call me out in instances. And lastly, probably I have to talk about debunking the notions of when you're in a relationship, then the person has the power to control you or owns you. And we have been taught about that in many of our society institutions, that when you're in relationship and you get married, then you can already dictate what the person does. And of course, we're fighting that. And so it's important to be conscious of it as well, on how we debunk it on a daily basis, and how we respect each other's identity, autonomy, decisions. And I agree with what was mentioned earlier. Small as it is, but we know it's not small. Sharing of care work and reproductive labor is very important.
Thank you, Twice. So, as a follow-up question, I think we have two follow-up questions for Twice. One is from our what's this? From our chat. So, very direct question: what is your opinion of having a relationship in same sex? I think that's been addressed, but to further clarify. And second, is it easier to practice feminism in a romantic relationship between two women, or is it just the same as heterosexual relationship?
First, what do you think of same-sex relationships? I'm in one, and I think there's a lot of stigma and discrimination we are facing as members of an LGBTQI community. We have so many privileges that we cannot enjoy. There are things that are not issues for heterosexual couples that are issues for us, and I'm lucky that my partner already came out before we were in a relationship, and I already came out of my family before we were in a relationship. So that part of the problem was at least already addressed. But as I mentioned earlier, you have to come out and you have to face discrimination or that kind of stigma every day. And as a feminist, and as an intersectional feminist, you have to see that your struggle as a feminist also includes struggles with respect to sexuality, and also to struggles with the society stigma against a kind of relationship that you have. And it's important to be there together to discuss it with your partner and how you're going to go about it. Even issues like marriage equality, we have different opinions. Because me as a feminist, I don't believe in the institution of marriage. My partner says she wants to have marriage. She still believes in marriage, and so it's a discussion for us, and it's important not to dismiss opinions, but to continue and understand each other's perspective. I don't know how else to address a question of what you think about same-sex relationship. It's okay, and probably what I have to underline is it should be respected as all other relationships. There's nothing wrong with it. What's wrong is the stigma and the discrimination that we're facing because of the people that we choose to love. And secondly, is it more easier to be a feminist in a feminist relationship when you're in a relationship with a woman? I think it's easier because you are able to communicate more. I know this is essentialism and stereotype as well, but it's easier to communicate because we have.
Sorry, you speak so fast.
I'm
Just
sorry.
like me.
Sorry. Where was I? Sorry, Julia. But I say
Easier to communicate between
easier to communicate with a woman as partner because we have, at some point, we have similar experiences of being dismissed, rendered invisible because of our gender, because of we have experiences as well of sexual violence, sexual harassment, and it's easier to communicate that, the kind of expectation of men and of society. So it's easier to unpack that. And I like what Kuntia said earlier, when she said that in a feminist relationship, your sexual life is amazing. I agree with that because you're able to communicate, saying that what you want, and also at some point it could also be like you can express openly that you don't want or you want to rest because you have that kind of open communication. So I think if heterosexual relationships could be more open and communicative, and we break these stereotypes of being a silent man or not expressing your needs could be broken, then you would have better relationships.
Thank you, Twyla. It's great that we have a balance of Kuntia identifies as straight, Sumita is in a with her boyfriend. Am I right, Sumita? And Twyla is in a relationship with another woman. So just picking up points from the first three speakers, it's a continuous discussion. It's working every day for the relationship. It's a progression. It's not just you're in a feminist relationship and that's it. It's like any other relationship. It's important to communicate and discuss with each other, whether simple things or more complicated things. Lastly, let's hear from Frey, who is single. So maybe she has a different perspective or from the first three speakers. So Frey.
Yeah, thank you. I'm not against other speakers. I think they all share the value of feminism and how it's being applied to the relationship, and I think it's so wonderful. But as you also said, Saira, it's continuous discussion. Feminism itself as a political, it's continued to grow, develop in many fields and levels, from political movement and then entering into the academic realm. So I think what we need to understand is, from my previous relationship, I think we need to have, as maybe Kuntia said, that we need to have treat other person equally, and we need to have trust, because we are continue to challenge our own beliefs, which we had previously, as Twilight also said, and Sumita. So we all talk about it's important. Communication is important, but in communication, we not just only talking, but most importantly is we also need to have attentive listening, which means we are open to feedback when our value itself might hurting other people. We also need to negotiate that, as Sumita said. So I think communication, not just talking, not just expressing our value, but we need to also understand. We need to listen to what our partner says. And from my experience, I learned about how to understand myself, what my partner wants, and then we can openly discuss and negotiate about gender roles. It's comfortable for us, so we can support each other dreams, each other goal, without being afraid to lose ourselves in the journey. I think. Yeah, I think that's. I agree. I totally agree with all the speakers. And feminism is like a continuous development, even for ourselves. We need to uh, challenge our own way of thinking in everyday life. This title.
Thank you, Frey. Since that was supposed to be my follow-up question, if what is an ideal romantic relationship for a feminist like you? So you've addressed that already. So but we will get back to you, Frey, for the next segment. So it's great that as I mentioned earlier, it's great that we're presenting or we're able to present different perspectives from feminists today. So there's those who are in a relationship, those who are single, but sharing similar yet different beliefs or in this question of how are feminists in relationships. So we learned a lot of meanings of what romantic relationship should be for maybe if you're not even feminist or you don't identify as one, it's important to have that communication, the honesty, the trust, whether you're discussing mere things or everyday things in your relationship or is sexual activities or what else there are a romantic relationship is comprised of. So I hope that our viewers can relate, not just relate, but also take note of the important points that we're getting from here. And as we've said earlier, it's continuous progression, a development that hopefully not just me, but if you're watching, you can apply it in your everyday life, your relationship. So I may sound that we're wrapping up now, but we're not yet wrapping up. So we have our third and last segment. So on friendships and feminisms. Thank you so far for our guests for sharing their most honest takes and most intimate takes on those questions. So this now is for the single ladies like me. So we're going to talk about friendship. So relationships not just about romance but also the social circles or the friends we hold close to us. So personally, I have my closest circle of friends or the ones that I'm very close to. I'm not close to them because not just for fun, but also because they're the ones I can open up to. So like Kuthia said earlier, it's important for women to have the safe spaces where we can discuss our thoughts or our sexuality. And I'm lucky enough to have that with my friends. So when I'm with them, we can talk about our favorite things or the things that make us laugh. But we also can share our personal struggles, and I feel safe that when I share with them, whether it's about my thoughts about sexuality or what I think about a certain issue, so human rights issue, feminist issues, and we have the safe space to be open with each other. So that's our point. Even within friendships, feminism plays an important part in making our bonds stronger, making us closer to them, safer, and based on our personal experiences and friendships, let's hear more from our guests. How does being a feminist strengthen your friendship or your socials, make your own social circles, your own safe space? So not just intimate relationship, but with your friends, how does it become a safe space? So this time, let's hear first from Sumita.
Um, okay, I mean, I think the issue is not everyone will have the same type of attitude, you know. And so, like what I mentioned to you, I'm a strong person. I have a strong personality. I have independence and all that. But that doesn't mean my friends in my circle have the same type of environment. But I think as a feminist, what they know is that I will always be there for them if they need any assistance. So I know friends who are in abusive relationships, or who are struggling to manage their own families, and not able to go beyond a certain how do you say, a certain line because of their prejudices, or their family's prejudices, or the family's restrictions that they place on the women and all that. So they're not able to go beyond that. But what they know is, like, if they come to a point where they need to go, or where they want to step over the boundary, or they need some assistance, they know that that I'm there for them. And I think this is the assurance I always give to my female friends, that it's okay not to be strong. Follow the norm that has set for you. But if there is a point where you want to bridge that barrier, then I will always be there to help you with that. And like what the other previous speakers, I have a lot of friends who are LGBTs as well, friends who are gays, lesbians, and all that. And it took a lot, and I think they're very, very brave to come out and say that they are the community of the LGBT, because it's going, like what they say, it's like going against the norm. But for me, your sexual orientation is no one else's business. So for these kind of friends, I'm always saying that no, I'm not prejudiced against that. And whatever you can speak for that, for the LGBT community, or what I also support that. So you need to have that kind of conviction in yourself as well, that you have certain principles that you want to follow, and you're able to share that with your friends, like what you mentioned, Shaira. You're able to share with your friends. So that's exactly what I do. But I also respect my friends' space of want to communicate certain things. I respect that. Yeah.
Thank you, Sumita. I think we have a question or comment, but it's in Bahasa. So let's wait for Ika to reconnect. In the meantime, we can have Ray answer the question: how does being a feminist strengthen your friendship or make your social circles your own safe space?
Okay, so I think it also applies to ourselves, that sometimes being a what we call a social justice warrior, we also need a place to share our concern, to share our worries. So it doesn't have to be us creating that space, but our friends can also be our support system. We don't need to be look powerful all the time, or we can help other people all the time, because we also sometimes need that from our friends. That's also the value of feminism, because what I understand, feminists promotes fairness and 3C. I like to 3C: critical thinking, compassion, and collaboration. So if we think that we don't have an energy, or we don't in a good state of emotion, our friends can also help us. And on the other side, we also can discuss about how the society, the standard of beauty is being created by the society. And the standard of good woman is also being created in a social system. So when one of our friends experienced bullying, experience harassment, because the way they live, uh, the way they look is not according to the standard that has been created. We can also give them support that it's feminism. It's um, can accept any differences, and but we need to be patient, and we need to be understand as well. Not all people have the level of knowledge and the level of experiences as we are, and we are lucky enough. We are having privilege to understand English, to understand. Uh, we can understand books that we are free, but maybe some of our friends don't have this privilege. So we need to not be judging because maybe what they see is social media, and media induce the stigma or induce the standard of beauty, and it might makes them feel down, and this we can strengthen our social circle, our social friend, our social life, learning about feminism and what it means to be feminist. I think it's one of the ways that we can have. So creating a safe space, whether it's in a romantic relationship or whether in the a non-romantic relationship, but being a feminist makes us need to create safe space, not only for our friends, but also for ourselves.
Thank you, Frey. I love that Sumita said she herself is a safe space for her friends. And then Frey added on that as feminists ourselves, or as in line with our work, we also need safe spaces that not necessarily we create, but we can be part of. So yeah, that's true. And I really, really love that. So next, let's have Twyla.
I agree with Frenia and Smita. We get support from our feminist friends and feminist circles and social justice warriors, because the work that we do is not easy. A lot of trauma, a lot of mental health issues that we face daily, a lot of challenges. So we serve others, but at the same time, we also have our own needs. And it is in times that we need support, and we need somebody who understands the struggle that we are going through, and who picks us up or give us all this encouraging encouraging push when we need it, especially when we're already feeling overwhelmed. And we usually get it in our feminist circles, social justice warrior circles, and it's how we are able to support each other, encourage each other to continue, and to mentor each other as well. It's a very good space, especially in terms of feminist and groups and organizations. I also want to pick up what Smita said in terms of not all of our friends are feminist. We have to face it, not all of our friends are feminist. But it's important that as feminists, I think it works for me that as feminists, we choose to practice feminism, try to choose to practice feminism every day. And it shows in what we do, even in circles that are not women's human rights circles or feminist circles, and it helps. Like I mentioned earlier, that I'm a member of UP Mountaineers, both of me and our partner. It's a macho organization. A lot of sexual violence cases, sexual harassment in mountains. Nobody spoke about it. And as part of being a feminist, and this is one of our core advocacy, I just have to put my head in it and speak out. Of course, it was not seen with favor at first, but the Me Too movement helped later on in making them understand. But speaking out, and you become a safe space for others who are also survivors of abuse. Not necessarily that they are feminist, but they see that you are somebody that they can approach. There's somebody they can ask if they need questions. They have questions about safe abortion. They have questions about reproductive health services available for them that they could not ask from somebody else. And it's important that because of what you do, they see you as somebody that out of nowhere they can reach out. And I think that's one way of making the circle wider, even, and reaching, and actually you're like a brand for feminism because you are also able to convert more women, more people to feminism, and see that it's not all about man hating, but all about equality.
Why I think that's a great example of from Sumita's how can we be safe spaces for our friends to the example, yeah, that when there are things or there are matters that they can't ask other people, they know that they have someone who can they talk to about things, whether it's abortion or reproductive health or abuse. They can have someone, they know they have someone to run to and discuss these things, how we can help. So yeah, and in contrast to that, we also have people who will make us feel safe, whether we're stressed or we're overwhelmed by work. So thank you, Twy. Before we go on to Kuntia. Let's read some comments. So we have some shout outs from the Philippines. Sheila, Baste, they're my relatives. They're watching right now. I hope that they can apply these things that we're talking about in their lives. Also from WLB, Claire and Atisitas. Hello. Thanks for watching. And Mabel and Atenitz. Atenitz is one of our participants in we have a feminist school in the Philippines and also in Indonesia. So every week we meet and have lessons or sessions on feminism. So hello, I hope that you're having a good time and a good session with us today here. So we have one question from Indonesia. So thank you, Auntie, for translating. She is Castra, married 33 years practicing feminism in a household. Sorry. So he is married 33 years practicing feminism in a household. And as a man or husband, especially in sexual needs, he always tries to give his wife a more enjoyable taste or after intercourse, a romantic feeling for other things is very strong. So thank you, Castra, for sharing that. It's good that we have a man sharing his insights as well today. So lastly, let's have Kuntia. So the question again is it possible or sorry, how does being a feminist strengthen your friendships or make your own social circles safe space for you?
Yeah, thank you. It's always a challenge when talk at the last because everyone has said a lot of good things, a lot of reflect to our life. So I just try to put in the 4 points that I would like to highlight related to this question. First is about understanding each other. I mean, we cannot change everyone to be a feminist overnight because we're living in a patriarchy system for 1,000 years. We all internalize, we all trapped in those systems. Even us working on women's rights, we are the feminists. We still going and out within this system. So how we understand people in that way, men, women, lesbian, gay, or whoever in this society. Because the patriarchy system is not just only the men and the women, also talking about the oppression system in the society. So how can we also understand each other, and if we would like to be a safe space for us and also to strengthening our sisterhood, how we put a lot of understanding, those system, and everyone can express their feeling, confusion, vulnerability, and then we can find out the way that we can support each other. And secondly, I just would like to expand when we're talking about the safe space. What does that mean for me? It's a space that we can listen and no judge, because this society is a lot of judgment. Like when people talk, we always like say, oh, this wrong and that's right. So I think the space that we can listen, not just only from the friend, from the sister, or even with the kid, with my son, for example, I also practice those kind of space. So we listen and no judge. We love, care, and be supportive. So be supportive is we always at their side in whatever happen and whenever they come. And then we will find a way how to, to dig down more of the what would happen at that. So at the first time, it need to be at their side to support and treat everyone equally. We also need to keep checking keep checking to our friend, to our sister, and asking the question. Maybe not at why, because everyone have different condition, have different personality, have different way of the solution that they want, but keep asking questions so everyone can analyze. So I think that is the safe space for me. So the space that we can have the freedom to share, to express to identify our definition, to identify our way of solution, and work out for the best of our life and identify who we are. Sometimes we also lose, we can even, because we so trapped in the society, so we even don't know what we want, because we was always told that this is you should be. For example, like, if you're not married, if you are single, it's like it's the end of the world, something like that. So we need to really be conscious about those kind of belief that inside us. So I think asking the question is the key. And we also reflective on our power and privilege, because a lot of us also said about that. And this is important that we even within the system and even our social circle, we need to also mindful about this, because it's the daily life of us. We need to make sure that we are be reflective about the power that we're using with our kid, with friend, with colleague, or with whoever in this society. And also, yeah, we no need to be strong to be a feminist. We can cry, we can be vulnerable, we can share our story, we can share our painful. So we no need to be strong. So I think create the space that not be always the shoulder for other, but other can be also the shoulder for us. And like Tyler said, we lucky that we have the supporting system. And I myself experienced when I got divorced, I have a lot of supporting system. And that's why I thought about how about other women. So that, yeah, so I think that is important too. And that also why to building more of my passion to work on the women rights. Thank you.
Thank you, Kuntia. Before we get to the questions, or we have questions there, great that how Kuntia defined the safe space. So I hope that Kuntia said that it's a space where we can be listened to, or without judgment, where we can cry and be vulnerable. So I hope that we all have that safe space where we can speak our minds, share what we're thinking of, and also where we can be vulnerable, just like Kuntia said, where we can cry or be angry, and just let those circle of friends, or that safe space, be our own safe space, where no judgment on our part. So we don't always have to be strong, or we don't have to be strong necessarily, but let's feel our emotions sometimes, and thanks to our safe space, we can have that from time to time. So thank you. Before we wrap up, we have some questions. So shout out first, Osang of Jazz. Hello, Osang. Thanks for watching us. And then from Ate Nelly, or Nelly from the Philippines. So she's asking, where's the question? How do you manage to face the stigma of your relationship, or your romantic relationship? So she addresses this to all panelists, or all our guests. So maybe we can go
Shai?
to, yes.
A clarification. I think she's referring to bisexual relationship, but she
Okay,
wanted
okay.
maybe those who wanted to respond to answer the question.
So okay, so Nelly is directing or addressing the question to Twyla, but if you also want to answer to our the other guests, you can also answer. So Twy.
It's good that you're together with your partner, because you have somebody that you can share the experience with, and you're stronger together. It's strong if you have good family, good and supportive friends with you, and if lucky, if your family is also with you, so you can fight that. But I think it's also important for me to add that it helped really that I'm a feminist, and I'm able to counter the narratives that society, as Kutia mentioned, that society is bombarding us of what's right, what's wrong, what you could do, what you can't do, what kind of sex you can have. So all these things, it helps because I'm a feminist. I'm working in this field that I'm able to counter the narratives uh, within me, inside me personally, and also share and discuss that with my partner and discuss that with my immediate family and my group of friends. So for family, it's not easy, but slowly they get uh, they 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 get to be on board and become advocates or are able to accept. Not all of them, but are able to accept. And also, I work for a society that will be able to accept and respect LGBTQI rights every day through the work that I do. I think it's one way of countering as well the stigma. Um, More visibility, because for me, I'm lucky, I'm safe. In some other places, relatively safe compared to other LGBTQI in other countries that they would not be safe going out. So I use this space where I can speak, this space that I can be out to have more visibility, more narratives of LGBTQI. Although I have to say that my narrative is also a privileged one. There are so many other narratives out there that we have to see. And the more that they are seen, the more that we can push for recognition and respect for rights of LGBTQI persons.
Thank you, Tuai. Do we have for Kuntia, Frey, and Sumita, you can also respond to the question if you want to.
So
So,
yeah,
Kuntia.
maybe I answer because I got divorced, and some people say that after we divorce we might be not one romantic relationship, but actually it's not true. So I mean, for me is when I decide to get divorced, it's so many questions around if I will get a better man than my ex-husband. So it's a lot of question around that. But finally, it's about yourself. You be friend with yourself. You can be accompany your own self in this society, even you will not have any partner. So be ready with all of those questions that you're gonna ask and face in the society after you got divorced. So then the romantic relationship is still be with me, but I need to be more conscious about who I will be with, what is my feminine principle in my relationship, what I want, who I am, and what the goal that I would want in the relationship. For example, I thought maybe I will not marry again, but I will be in the relationship that I can be romantic, I can be share a lot of love, care, and support the way that we want, because marriage or relationship, romantic relationship is not the whole to identify the whole life of us. It's just part of our lives. So still be positive in the romantic of the relationship that we're gonna have. Yeah, so I think that might be short answer to that question. Thank you.
I just like to add that I think not only lesbians or gays have a stigma in their relationship. I think every relationship everyone likes to have a say in another person's relationship. But in Asian culture, we like to be a busybody, like to see what the other person's relationship is all about, and even in the relationship that we have, because I think everyone asks, like, okay, when are you going to get married? You're already 47 years old. When are you going to get married? And I'm like, never, because I don't see the point, and I'm not being a rebel in trying to go against the norm, but I just don't see the point in it. So for some people, it's not acceptable. So they think, no, this is not a good way of going about in your life and all that. But that's not important. It's more important is whether I'm happy with what the way my life is going. So like what Tyler would mention. I mean, it's a really good thing that she is being strong and going about her life the way she wants. It's totally irrelevant to another person of how she wants her life to be, or even as the rest of you who are single. It's okay to be single. I do not know why people think that you need to be in a relationship. No. You don't have to be. You're happy. That's all that matters. If you find someone that you can share your life with, good. But not everybody is lucky sometimes. Sometimes you may want to go into a relationship because of peer pressure, because of society pressure, but then that's the wrong person and you're totally miserable, worse. That's I don't think that's the type of situation that you should be in. So it's okay. And, I think everybody has their own problems to deal with, and we shouldn't be judging another person's relationship, really. Yeah.
Or you may make Miss Ray, you want to add anything?
Yeah, I just want to, totally. Can I just say amen to all the, but what Sumita just said is like, I think it's really true that in order for us to be, before we jump into the relationship with other people, I think we need to have a relationship with ourselves. Like a lot of society pressure, a lot of things that might not in line with our own value, and we don't need to be lowering our standard in order to be in a relationship with other people. So I think, relationship with ourselves is also important. When we are in a relationship with other people, we can we looking for in the relationship with more firm or that's very connection is,
So, Frenya's phrase cutting off, maybe due to all internet as well. But yes, thank you, Frey, for adding on to that. If you were cut off, you can type in your response so more people can get the message. Okay, so thank you for responding to that question. Before we're close to wrapping up, so let's just read some comments. So Jade from Baguio, that's in Northern Luzon here in the Philippines. Congratulates us for this initiative. So thank you, Jade, and thank you for watching. Ate Nelly, thank you as well for being an active participant in our activity or program today. So before we wrap up, we have one more question, one last question. So very briefly, if you have any advice for those who are watching us and hope to have feminist relationships, whether romantic or in their friendships, please go ahead. So this time, let's have Prey go first.
Thank you, Saira. I also want to say hi to my friend here, Tita. I work with Tita for a long time in IPA. I hope you are well. And I think for me, my last note will be like we live in a world where powerful people, of course, create social construction. But the philosopher, the academia, or the people who smart can only interpret the world in various ways to the point. But however, it's up to us on how to change it. That's why we're doing all this advocacy work. So what Twyla also said that we are the brand ambassador of what is feminist itself. So we are still currently living in patriarchal and heteronormative culture. But when we want to change something in communication, what is the message is important, but how you deliver it, it's also important and crucial point. So when we want to have more people fighting for inequality or changing the social norm, what I got from my students, they sometimes they are afraid to act, afraid to be judged by seniors in this movement. So I think we need to be patient and talking kindly, non-judgmental, as all the panelists said, And yeah, we need to also understand our privilege and safe space, not only for ourselves, but also when someone trying to reach out to us, and then we know it's not, you shouldn't be like this, but uh, they don't have the same knowledge or same experiences as us. So I think we need to be maybe have another way to communicate our message, so people don't uh, misunderstood what we want to deliver, what we want to change in this society. I think that's
Thank you, Frey. Let's call next Sumita. Advice.
Thank you. I think as a parting message, I would say that feminism is not just about fighting for another woman's right. You know, it's also about respecting their space. It sometimes takes a lot for women to find courage to speak up, or they may never speak up. You know, but I think respecting their views is also feminism. Not imposing your strong views on them is extremely wrong. So there are women who would like to stay in their comfort zone, and I think we must respect that. Just being there for them, knowing or putting yourself out there for some as someone who would be able to help them if they need it, I think is good enough. But I would that would be some sort of advice not only for women but also for men, because there are also men who are oppressed in some ways. So it's a balancing act. You know, be there for everyone is what I would say, and also create a safe space for safe space for yourself in practicing feminism. Thank you.
Okay, Kuntia.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think for the last, I would say that personal is a political. If we can, each of us cannot live freely. You cannot be yourself. You cannot who you are. So that what is that mean when we're talking about the just society that we want, that the feminists are fighting for. So it's important to start from us to really have our own definition of life, of relationship, of the way that we would like, you know, our lives to be, and uh, be reflective to the power and the privilege that we have, and our identity, because that is important, but also not so extreme, because like I said, we need to also understand that we're living in this system and everyone living in it. Like Sumita said, it's not just only the woman that trapped in the relationship. A lot of men also trapped in the relationship. They cannot divorce, they cannot break up. A lot of, you know, combination that be there. So how we going to analyze and unpack those of the gender role, the status quo of the society, and unpack that and live the way that we want, and in you know, define our own happiness, not the society that saying what the happiness you should. And also I think give each other space. We are very different, we diverse, but it's not mean that it's weak. It's strong. How we gonna use those diversity and differences among all of us, but the thing how we give our own space and support each other and understand both. I think that is important. Thank you.
Kuntia. And lastly, let's have Dwight.
I like that somebody already mentioned personal is political, and I echo that. And also Samita mentioning voice and a woman's decision and respecting that space. Probably I'll just add on one of my favorite lines as well. We always say that it has to be very big, but it doesn't have to be always big. So every space is a space of resistance, and there are many ways of resisting, and that's also kind of respecting the different ways that women marginalized groups, LGBTQI persons are resisting in their different spaces, and how that also connects to the bigger movement. And so in every day that we do, every little act in every little space that we have, it's a space of resistance. It's also a space of empowerment. And we hope that we can harness that each day, that citing from Foucault. And also I think I was thinking of something and then I lost it. So I think I'll end with that.
Thank you, Twyla. Ika is back, so she may have to want to say something. If your internet is good, Ika.
Yeah. Hello, Shahira.
Yeah, hello.
I'm sorry. I think I need to turn off my video to get the stable connection. Okay, so we are in the closing already, yeah? Okay,
Yeah.
so I think
Before you, Ika, before
yes.
you go, first Rena has a message before you do the closing together. Sorry. Before you close the session. Castra, can you call Castra?
Oh, okay. Pak Castra, hello. Can we allow him to talk or no, Jalen? Because we need to allow. Okay. Hello, Pak Castra. Tadi raise hand.
Enggak juga sih.
Oh, oke.
Cuma pencet aja.
Oh, oke.
Ya, intinya ya menyampaikan terima kasih.
Ya, silakan Pak.
So, Auntie or Ika?
Yeah, he just said thank you. No comment, Jalen.
Thank you as well, Castra. Thank you for joining us. So, Ika, go ahead.
Okay. I think we all got a lot of great and encouraging stories today, and also experience from our guests. And hopefully it can inspire us in any relationship we choose. And for me personally, it gives me insight and life learning from the stories and experience that were shared by our guests. So thank you so much to all our guests for sharing their stories. Kuntia, Sumita, Frey, and Twyla. And of course, thank to all the participants who joined us today from 9 a.m. And hopefully today's session can inspire and strengthen our solidarity, feminists in Southeast Asia. I think that's it, Shahira.
Thank you, Ika. Also, I want to personally give thanks because we may be hosting, but I learned so much as well from our set of guests today, and I hope that I can apply all my notes in any future interactions and relationships that I'll have. So thank you so much, Sumita, Twyla, Kuntia, and Frey. It was nice meeting you all. Thank you for giving us your time and space. To our fans who are watching with us here on Zoom and on Facebook, thank you, and we hope to see you all next week for another episode of our everyday feminism. This is once again your feminist kachikahan, Shaira Cruz, and with me is Ika Agustina from Galiana Mitra. Salamat. Terima kasih.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So, Shaira, you will be, thank you very much. Please don't leave yet. We will just have a short photo, a quick photo